Welcome back to our channel.
So we had the opportunity to tour the Holy Lands for 8 days, and we hope you guys enjoy these videos on our time in Israel.
You remember Ruth gleaning in the fields of Boaz. You remember the story? We don't have, of course, archaeological evidence, but within these fields, this is the place that she was gleaning in the fields. And then we have the beautiful love story, as if God is rewarding her for her loyalty to her mother-in-law. Not just a palace. He loved this place for different reasons that we will be talking about. Guys, this is artificially raised. If Jesus passing from here, he will see this. And why he raised it? To give beautiful view. We will go up and see it. And also he wanted a sea view. How, Your Majesty, how we can have a sea view here in the Judean wilderness? He said, I want a sea view. They kept raising it until you start seeing the sea. Of course, the sea dropped dramatically the past 100 years. I'm talking about the Dead Sea. So anyway, this was close to his heart. And he said, when I die, I only want to be buried here. No one else. And this is the only place that took his name.
Hey, it's tour day 2 out of 8 in Israel. If you missed day 1, you might want to go back and watch that before you watch this one. Subscribe if you want to be notified when we release our next video. And today, day 2, we first had our breakfast at the David Citadel Hotel after a good night's rest, and then we headed to Herodium. The Herodian, also known as Herodium, was a fortress and palace of King Herod located about 3 miles south of Bethlehem. If you remember in the Bible, it talks about how the 3 wise men who were following the star to find baby Jesus, they stopped in to see the king to ask him where they would find this baby king. And King Herod, this is the same King Herod who lived up here on this mountain and who was king at the time of baby Jesus' birth. Same guy. He was the one who got really mad and wanted to kill baby Jesus because he didn't want anyone else to become king after him. He was a super jealous guy. He loved power. Anyway, this palace, it's on the edge of the Judean wilderness that lies to the southeast. King Herod was all about power, and so he had dirt nearby hauled and placed upon an already existing mountain to form the Herodium, making it a perfect volcano-like shape. This added height, gave it natural protection, and allowed Herod to see Jerusalem from its northern tower.
Are these the original steps?
I assume they're restored,
Yeah.
because he said the original were marble.
Oh.
It was massive in size and overshadowed everything in the area with its presence and majesty. The location of the Church of the Nativity is northwest, in line with the lower pool complex below the Herodian. King Herod was appointed by the Roman Empire to rule Judea on behalf of Rome from 37 to 4 BC. He was the king in power when Christ was born. He's most known as the one who killed all the babies in Bethlehem 2 years old and younger in his attempt to kill Jesus. Matthew 2:16. Then Herod, when he saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, became furious, and he sent, and in all that region, who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had ascertained from the wise men. He was so powerful that with a mere spoken word he could order a mass execution of children in Bethlehem without approval from anyone. Everything in Israel was dominated by King Herod, and his Herodian fortress was evidence of his domination and power. He was also a master builder who was known for building things that defied nature and glorified his name. He built Caesarea by the sea, which was a deep water seaport larger than any in Rome, Athens, or Greece. This is how he funded all his big buildings. He built Masada, which was a fortress of protection and a winter palace. It had supplies for 10,000 people for 10 years. He was a very fearful man, as well as a wicked man. He enlarged the Temple Mount, which was an engineering masterpiece. He built a new temple for the Jews that was unparalleled in glory, size, and beauty. And he built a massive building over the caves of the patriarchs in Hebron. He built this Herodian fortress named after himself, among other accomplishments. War was common in his day, so the Herodian was built to protect himself and his kingship from those who tried to kill or remove him. The Herodian was on the highest mountain in the Judean desert. He had a great fear of betrayal from others attempting to usurp his throne. He had 2 of his sons strangled. He killed numerous in-laws and ordered his oldest son to be beheaded just before he died. He even had one of his wives killed, his favorite wife, actually, out of fear that she was in plot to betray him. Construction of the Herodian began in 25 BC using thousands of slaves. Herod reshaped the summit of the hill to create a pleasure palace and fortress. The Herodian was the 3rd largest palace in the known world at the time of Herod, and it was a monument to his power and glory. It could be seen from many miles away and rose in dominance and prestige. It covered 45 acres and had a small, luxurious city at its base that included swimming pools, spas, a theater, and all the luxuries life could afford. An aqueduct brought water from a spring nearly 4 miles away. It had 4 towers that gave it a commanding view of the Judean desert, the Dead Sea, and the mountains of Moab. By using mirrors to reflect the sun, Herod could send messages from the Herodian to Jerusalem, Masada, and other places. Herod is remembered as a jealous, self-serving person who built his own kingdom for his own glory. Because he was so despised and hated, at his death, he knew that no one was going to cry, so he ordered many prominent Jews to be killed so there would be weeping in Jerusalem. I do believe they were all set free, though, after his death. He died at the age of 69 and was buried at the Herodian, where he wanted to be buried. Today, all that's left of Herod's kingdom and glory are ancient ruins. This site was also used by others who would seek to govern this area of Judea. Excavations in 1968 and 1969 revealed that Pontius Pilate also used this site. This is confirmed by the discovery of a very important bronze signet ring bearing a Greek inscription with the word something on it, meaning that it had belonged to Pontius Pilate, probably worn by one of his civil administrators. The Herodian has been used for defense and religious purposes from the time of Herod and Pilate to the present. The lower section has a park entrance, water pool, city ruins, pillars, Roman garden, staircase going up the mountain. Upper section, Herodian palace and fortress, 4 towers of the palace, north, east, west, and south. Synagogue, used from 66 to 70 AD. Mikvah, bathhouse cisterns, some kind of revolt tunnels from 132 to 136 AD, tunnels, theater, and Herod's tomb. Unlike Herod, who only cared about building his own kingdom, Christ came as a lowly servant to serve others. Christ was born in a humble manger in the small frontier town of Bethlehem. He owned no home and had nowhere to lay his head. He held no public office. He rode into Jerusalem on the colt of a donkey, which was a lowly symbol of peace. He washed his disciples' feet. He died a criminal's death between 2 thieves. Unlike Herod, who glorified himself, Christ set aside his glory to become an obedient servant, even unto death on the cross. Unlike Herod, whose kingdom came to ruins, Christ changed people and the course of history like no other person.
The original mosaic of what?
After visiting Herodium, we headed to Bethlehem. We got to see the Church of the Nativity. Since at least the 2nd century AD, people have believed that the place where the Church of the Nativity, Bethlehem, now stands is where Jesus was born.
This picture, it is the Palm Sunday. Can you see Jesus with the cloak and they are putting their garments? Here you can see Paul, the vision he saw.
We got to enter the cave where they believe Jesus was born. It was probably actually cool down in the cave, but when we were there, it was very, very warm because there was a lot of people. We also got to sing a Christmas song together down in the cave. So that was really neat. And yeah, it's very different than the pictures we have seen in the Bible storybooks growing up. It's not a barn, it's just very different. The guy told us that the cave was actually, I don't remember who he said somebody tried to hide where the cave was, and that ended up being the reason why we still know where it is today, because they tried to hide it. Wow. Luke 2, 1-21. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today, in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger." Suddenly a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests." And when the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby, who was lying in the manger. And when they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told. On the 8th day, when it was time to circumcise the child, he was named Jesus, the name the angel had given him before he was conceived.
We're having the screen on both sides. That's so nice.
I'm going to comment below which country Kendrick and I are hoping to visit next, and I would love to hear in the comments below which countries you guys want to visit.
And it's really attractive for the youth and the children. And we
After visiting the cave where Jesus was born, we went to have lunch at a cafe, which is a cafe owned by the people who guided our tour. The cafe helps to fund their ministry and their discipleship program. After lunch, we went to a souvenir shop, which was a lot of things carved from olive wood. It was really, really neat and intricate work, and so we all got some stuff to take back home for family and friends or whatever, and souvenirs to keep for ourselves, to remember the trip by. Then we went to Shepherd's Field. This was the general area where the shepherds would have seen the angels and pointed them to the cave where Jesus was born. This was an actual cave that shepherds would have used, maybe not the exact shepherds that would have worshipped baby Jesus, but a cave used by shepherds, and they chiseled out shelves out of the side of the cave inside. There's also a church there, a Catholic church, to honor the shepherds and their experience.
To the right side, this is Mount Zion. We will be coming tomorrow. Tomorrow we will be covering Mount Zion.
The Western Temple wall is impressive, but its greatness is truly discovered when you descend underground to the Western Wall tunnels. The entrance into the tunnels is on the northern side of the Western Wall Plaza, a few meters away from the Western Wall. Upon entering, we walked through a series of rooms moving eastward until we hit the Western Wall. From that point on, the tunnels continue straight northward directly along the Western Wall until the northernmost point. During our walk in the tunnels, we passed by the Second Temple era homes, ancient cisterns, constructions from the Muslim period, and an aqueduct from the Hasmonean period, and more. If you want to visit the Western Wall tunnels, you have to join a guided tour, which needs to be ordered in advance. We split up into 2 groups, and we pretty much made up the entire 2 tour groups. Our guide was hilarious and really awesome. He gave us lots of really interesting facts about what was going on down there. These tunnels tell the fascinating story of ancient Jerusalem and how it continues to be meticulously discovered underground, dug out slowly and carefully.
Oh, we're getting walked over, huh?
What's the hurry? When I walk, I didn't hurry at all.
Oh, wow, that is way down there. Well, that one's deep.
Hard to believe this stuff is still just sitting here after that long.
I don't think they get rain like we do, though, or what?
What is it, like 3 months out of the year they get like all their rain? Do they all have this?
After exploring these tunnels, we headed back to our hotel and had dinner and showered and went to bed. That wraps up day 2. We hope you guys are enjoying these videos. If you're enjoying them, please subscribe to our channel and like these videos. At the time that I'm saying this, we currently have 590 subscribers, which is so cool, and it would be really fun to get it up to 600 before the end of this week. We'll see you hopefully next week with tour day 3.